I know we've got Adrian in the room, so you better close your ears at this particular point in time for the answers to the next questions. Did you have some kind of job? Did any of you have any kind of job description or any idea what the person what the people you were going to take on were actually going to do?
We knew, for example, that we needed support workers, but the process and how we went about that was so different when we first started up the organisation compared to now. We've now got an HR manager, and I think when he started in post, he kind of took in a deep breath, you know, and all the oxygen went from the room, because the systems that he's now supported us in putting in place are really quite vast compared to when we first met. You know, potential staff, it was come in for an informal chat, let's talk about the role and what our expectations would be of you. But now the systems that we've got in place, you know, we do assessment centres, personality testing, it's really quite different compared to day one.
So what was it like day one? Or was it?
It was very much, we tried a few different approaches actually. We did a huge recruitment drive where we hired out a room and we had some of our staff in there, and it was literally an open day where people could come and find out more about the organisation, and that was quite a good way of getting a high volume people through the door for us to kind of select the sort of person that we wanted for the role. We also did a lot of one-to-one interviews. And again, as Emily's just said there, I think, you know, through experience, you begin to realise what you need in place, such as job descriptions, person specs, application forms, adverts that need to go out, and everything that goes with that as well. So the system is very different now compared to when we started up, certainly.
So, Emily, and did you have any kind of job description? Did you know that you needed a job description? Do you need a job description?
I kind of knew that there should be a job description. I just wasn't entirely sure what it should be, because I kind of thought, well, I'm doing everything and it's fine, but there's just not enough hours in the day. So I thought all I need is just another one of me. So I thought, well, if I just employ someone else who's also doing everything, then there'll be two of us doing everything, and everything will go faster. And it was only when I took someone on and then I started having work experience students and we started having more people in the office that I realised that everybody doing everything didn't actually work as well in my mind as it actually did in practice. And that's when I realised that actually sort of splitting the business into sort of, well, there's not enough of us for really departments, but areas, actually helped a lot better, that everybody was focusing on. There are some people who just do manufacturing, they sit and they sew and they don't have anything to do with any of the paperwork, don't need to worry about it at all. Whereas other people, they know where all the files are, all the paper is, and they do a bit of sewing when they've got a spare moment, but it's not their primary role. And I think that helped everybody actually know what they're doing. And now when I go to find somebody, I know which bit of the business it is that I'm wanting them to work in, which makes everything run a lot smoother.
And moving this on a little bit and going back to the point I made when we first started, I got the impression that you knew what you wanted somebody else to do, but that then caused a problem for you.
Yeah, I knew that because my input in the business was always a creative role, it's a creative business, I knew that I was looking for a very particular set of creative skills and a very particular eye that, you know, somebody could pick out the same creative things that I would pick out. So it was about finding somebody with a particular taste level, which is actually a very difficult thing to employ for. You can't just ask somebody that in an interview, what's your taste level? Is it the same as mine? Okay, you've got the job. So that's very difficult to find, and you have to get people to, people have done work trials and work experience, and I've asked them to do projects and given them particular projects to prove that to me before I've even you know, paid them a penny. A lot of them have done that on unpaid work placements and things like that, and unpaid work trials. But yes, I was really sure about what I wanted that person to come into the business and do, and because I'd had so many freelancers and so many work experience students, I knew what that role would entail. And as soon as that person started that job, and because she was so proficient, is so proficient and so good, that it kind of, I just didn't know what to do myself. I kind of knew that my role had to then change and that I could oversee and creatively direct, but I couldn't actually get involved in the day-to-day compilation of our trend books, for example, and we do consultancy work with different brands and retailers, so I knew that that bit really had to change. And I had a couple of weeks where I just kind of watched her do my job and kind of sat there and thought, right, well, now I've got to, you know, walk the walk. I knew that this was what I was going to have to do. And so I rewrote, it wasn't a case of writing her job spec, it was writing my own job spec. And I had to decide that if I wasn't doing as much creative stuff, would it be me that would work as a client liaison person? I knew that I had to go and find more business and bring it into the company. And I knew that it wasn't something I'd ever formulated and put a strategy down for, so I had to do that. I had to put in place lots of things that make sure that I'm going out there and finding enough business, and lots of calculations whereby if I go out and do 50 pitches in 3 months, I know I might get 10% of those as paid jobs. So I had to work out what the strategy was for that and how many do we need to get through the door. All sorts of things that I'd heard about in talks and seminars and written all of the notes, but then I had to go and do it, and it's very different to actually go and do that job. But yeah, it really made me, it was exciting as well, because it was almost like, you know, this was the real transition from me being the creative role in the business to running the business and stepping outside of it. And I have a lot of ideas now because of that to fuel a business with. So it's been a really interesting and challenging time.
But was there ever a temptation to kind of, you know, go back to the thing you kind of know and your comfort zone?
Not really, and know and love as well. That's kind of where I started the business. I did it because that's the job that I always wanted to do. I've always been a trend forecaster. That's what my passion is. But what interests me even more than that now is trying to create this successful business and trying to find a business model that really fits with what we're trying to do. And push the business on, and only I can do that, but I can train other people to do the forecasting side of things, and that was the bit that I was never really sure that I was able to do. I thought that the creative stuff was me, and I was the business, and I could never be a company because it was always going to be about me and my skills. And I'd been told that by investors and all sorts of different people who'd said, well, you're not a business, you're an individual that provides a service. And I've gone beyond that now and turned it into a business, and I have a different role within the company.
I think that, I mean, that's quite important. That's something I know Paul Campbell from the Amazing Group kind of had a bit of an epiphany that, you know, he knew he'd got a business the minute he could walk out and let it go on with itself. Yeah. And I think that probably is, it's quite difficult for quite,
because a lot of people will have you believe that is you know, your business model is that you're an individual, you're a sole trader, you can't build something up and sell it and move away from it. It's you, and you are it. And I was told that several times, and I think every time I got told it, instead of thinking, oh yeah, they're right, I kept thinking, no, I've seen other companies, there are other businesses out there that are my competitors that are much, much bigger than me. And I know that they must have started out in the way that I started out at some point, but they've turned themselves into a brand and a company. So I never kind of took that for an answer.